The Laughing Aliens and the Forgotten Fleet. The Vorkuri Grand Council Hall was filled with laughter. Powerful alien leaders sat around a massive circular table, their eyes glowing with amusement. At the head of the table, Emperor Excelfor leaned back in his throne, a smug smile on his reptilian face. His golden scales shimmered under the dim lights of the chamber, his long claws tapping lazily against the metal armrest. A holographic image hovered in the center of the hall. It showed a collection of rusted, ancient human warships, floating in space like forgotten relics. The ships were covered in battle scars, their metal frames corroded with time. General Karvek, one of the Emperor's most trusted military leaders, stepped forward. He pointed at the hologram and grinned. "This is what the humans plan to fight us with." Karvek scoffed. "They expect to stop the mighty Vorkuri Empire with these flying scraps." The room burst into laughter again. The aliens mocked and jeered, some even banging their fists on the table in amusement. The Vorkuri Empire was one of the most powerful forces in the galaxy. Their warships were sleek and deadly, armed with the latest plasma weapons and energy shields. Their soldiers were trained from birth to be warriors. To them, humans were weak, primitive creatures, a species that had only survived because no one had bothered to destroy them yet. The Emperor raised a hand, and the laughter slowly faded. He narrowed his glowing eyes at the hologram, a cruel smile forming on his face. "Tell me, Karvek," he said, "how long will it take to conquer Earth?" Karvek smirked. "A few days at most, my Emperor. Their fleet is old and useless. Their defenses are pathetic. We will crush them before they even realize what is happening." The Emperor chuckled, clearly pleased. "Then it is decided. We will invade Earth at dawn. The humans will kneel before the Vorkuri Empire, or they will burn." The council erupted into cheers. They all believed this would be the easiest war in history. But in the shadows of the Grand Hall, Admiral Velruth remained silent. Unlike the others, he was not laughing. His sharp mind analyzed every piece of information carefully. Something did not feel right. If humans are so weak, he thought, why have they not been conquered already? Why did past empires fail? But he said nothing. The Emperor had made his decision. Far away on Earth, deep inside Lunar Command Base, hidden beneath the surface of the moon, a team of human officers sat around a war table, watching the incoming alien fleet on their screens. The Vorkuri ships moved through space like a dark storm, their numbers overwhelming. General Elias Carter, a battle-hardened veteran, leaned back in his chair and smirked. They took the bait. Commander Helen Vasquez crossed her arms. "They think our fleet is useless. They believe we are defenseless." Carter chuckled. "Good. Let them laugh while they can." The room around them buzzed with quiet activity. Officers gave commands, technicians monitored data, and a low hum filled the air as systems activated. In the hidden hangars of the ancient fleet, something stirred. Old metal groaned. Dust-covered engines roared to life. Rusted hulls gleamed as hidden power surged through them. What looked ancient on the surface was something entirely different underneath. The Vorkuri had no idea what was coming. And far away in space, the trap was set. The real battle was about to begin. The trap is set. The Vorkuri invasion fleet tore through the darkness of space, their massive warships shining under the distant stars. Each ship was a masterpiece of destruction, sleek, deadly, and equipped with the most advanced weaponry in the galaxy. Thousands of Vorkuri warriors stood ready, their claws gripping energy rifles, their armored bodies humming with anticipation. On the bridge of the flagship Devourer, General Karvek watched the approaching human fleet on the holo display. He sneered at the sight before him. The human warships floated lifelessly in space, their rusted hulls reflecting faint sunlight. The largest ship, an old battlecruiser named Titan's Wrath, barely looked functional. Its surface was scared, its weapons silent. "Pathetic," Karvek muttered. He turned to his second in command. "Send a transmission to the human fleet. Offer them surrender. Let's see if they have any sense left. A Vorkari officer nodded and opened a channel. Humans, this is General Karvek of the Vorkari Empire. Your fleet is outdated, your weapons useless. Surrender now, and we may allow some of you to live. For a long moment, there was silence. Then the humans responded. The voice was calm, almost amused. General Karvek, you have made a mistake, but it's too late now. Karvek frowned. A mistake. Then, all at once, the human fleet moved. The rusted warships that had looked lifeless and broken came alive with terrifying speed. Panels on their hulls slid open, revealing hidden energy cannons that hummed with power. The massive engines roared, and the once motionless ships charged forward like beasts unleashed from a cage. Karvek's eyes widened in shock. This was no ancient fleet. This was a trap. Evasive maneuvers. Fire all weapons, he barked. But it was already too late. The forgotten power of humanity. On board Titan's Wrath, General Elias Carter grinned as the battle began. They never expected this, he said, watching the chaos unfold. The ancient fleet, once thought to be a relic of the past, was something much deadlier, a masterpiece of deception. On the outside, they looked rusted and useless, but beneath their old armor were cutting-edge energy weapons, reinforced shields, and experimental technology that had never been revealed to the galaxy. The human fleet unleashed a storm of destruction. Blue energy beams sliced through the Vorkari ships, tearing through their defenses like paper. The once powerful invasion fleet found itself outmaneuvered, outgunned, and outmatched. On the Devourer, Karvek watched in horror as one of his battleships exploded into a fireball, its shattered remains drifting into the void. Impossible, he roared. But it was happening. The Vorkari, who had come to conquer, were now desperately fighting for survival. A voice crackled through Karvek's communicator. Still laughing, General. It was Carter. Karvek clenched his fists. He had underestimated humanity. And now, he would pay the price. The fall of the hunters. The battlefield had changed in an instant. What was supposed to be an easy Vorkari victory had turned into a nightmare. Human warships, once dismissed as rusted relics, now moved like predators in the dark, tearing through the Vorkari fleet with terrifying precision. On the flagship Devourer, alarms screamed as energy blasts rocked the ship. The bridge was bathed in red warning lights, and officers scrambled to make sense of the chaos. General Karvek clutched the edge of his command console, his claws digging into the metal. He couldn't believe what he was seeing. How? He growled. How are they doing this? Another officer turned to him, fear evident in his eyes. Sir, they're ships. They're using some kind of advanced shielding. Our weapons are barely scratching them. Karvek's mind raced. The humans should be weak. Their technology should be outdated. But the truth was clear now. He had been played. The human counterattack. Aboard the Titan's Wrath, General Elias Carter watched the battle unfold with calm precision. Status report, he asked. Commander Helen Vasquez grinned. Enemy forces in full retreat. They're panicking, sir. Their formations are breaking apart. Carter nodded, his eyes locked on the battlefield. The ancient fleet was proving its worth. This wasn't just an ambush, it was a lesson. For too long, the galaxy had mocked humanity, underestimated them, thinking them weak. Now, they were learning the truth. Carter opened a secure transmission directly to the Devourer. General Karvek, your fleet is finished. Surrender now, and you may live to tell the tale. Silence. Then, a low, bitter growl came through the channel. Humans, you are not what we expected. Carter smirked. We never are. Then, he gave the final command. Engage Phase 2. The turning point. The ancient fleet shifted tactics. The ship stopped chasing the fleeing Vorkari, and instead moved into a tight formation. Their weapons changed frequencies, adapting in real time to the weaknesses in Vorkari shields. Suddenly, no Vorkari ship was safe. Their defense systems failed one by one, and their best warships crumbled under precise human strikes. The battlefield was no longer a fight. It was a slaughter. On the Devourer, Karvek saw his forces dwindling. He had to make a choice. "Order the retreat," he growled. "Get us out of here." But it was too late. From the darkness, the Titan's wrath loomed over the Devourer like a ghost from a forgotten past. A final transmission came through. "Tell your Emperor, the age of underestimating humanity is over." And then the final shot was fired. No mercy in the void. The final shot struck Devourer's hull like a thunderclap in space. The Vorkari flagship, once a symbol of power, now burned with uncontrolled plasma fires. Shattered metal drifted away as explosions rippled across his body. Inside, chaos ruled. General Karvek struggled to stand as his command center trembled violently. Sparks rained down from broken panels, and alarms howled in protest. The cold grip of defeat tightened around his throat. How did it come to this? He thought bitterly. The mighty Vorkari fleet, reduced to wreckage by a force they had mocked just hours ago. He slammed his fist onto the console. This couldn't be happening. "Status report," he barked. An officer, barely standing, shook his head in despair. "Shields are gone, engines failing. Devourer won't hold much longer, sir." Karvek's eyes flickered to the holomap. More than 80% of the Vorkari fleet was destroyed. The few ships still intact were desperately fleeing, running like prey before the hunter. His empire's pride had turned into dust. And the humans, they showed no mercy. A ruthless pursuit. On board Titan's Wrath, General Elias Carter leaned forward in his command chair, watching as the remaining Vorkari ships scrambled for survival. "They're retreating, sir," Commander Vasquez reported. Carter's gaze hardened. Not fast enough. With a flick of his wrist, he activated the pursuit protocols. Immediately, the ancient fleet surged forward like wolves chasing wounded prey. Stealth corvettes cut off escape routes, while human cruisers picked off stragglers with precision strikes. It wasn't a battle anymore. It was an execution. One by one, the Vorkari warships vanished in bursts of fire, their wreckage joining the graveyard of the fallen. Only Devourer remained, barely alive. A final transmission crackled through. "Mercy." The voice was weak, almost broken. Karvek's pride was gone, replaced by desperation. But Carter only chuckled. "Mercy. Like the mercy you planned for Earth." A long silence followed. Then, a deep, resigned sigh. "Do what you must, human." Carter exhaled slowly. He knew history would judge him for this. But the galaxy had to learn. Fire. A final plasma barrage struck Devourer, cutting through its spine. The ship shattered, its remains scattering into the void. The last Vorkari transmission cut off abruptly. And just like that, the great invaders were no more. The Emperor's wrath. Deep within the Vorkari homeworld, in the Grand Imperial Palace, Emperor Exaltor sat upon his towering throne. His golden robes shimmered under the dim glow of the war chamber, but his claws twitched with fury. The massive holographic battlefield display before him showed a horrifying truth. His grand invasion force was gone. Not weakened, not battered, annihilated. The mighty Devourer, his most powerful flagship, was nothing but scattered debris. The once feared Vorkari fleet now existed only as wreckage drifting in space. And all of it, at the hands of the primitive species he had mocked. This cannot be. His voice was a dangerous whisper, but his court trembled at the fury hidden beneath it. A trembling advisor stepped forward. "And my Emperor, General Karvek's last transmission confirms it. The humans' ancient fleet was not outdated at all. It was a trap. They lured us in." Zaltor's eyes narrowed dangerously. "You mean to tell me," his voice was slow, deliberate, "that a species we deemed unworthy outmaneuvered my finest fleet?" The advisor swallowed hard. "Yes, my Emperor." Silence. Then the air vibrated with a deafening roar. Samash! Zaltor's massive fist struck the armrest of his throne, shattering the solid obsidian stone. His voice thundered through the chamber. These humans, do they think they have won? Fear gripped his court. None dared to speak. The Emperor's claws twitched in thought. He had underestimated humanity once. He would not make that mistake again. Prepare the retaliation force, every ship, every warrior, every resource we have. I want Earth reduced to ashes. The chamber trembled with the weight of his fury. And this time, his lips curled into a wicked grin. We will show them true terror. The warning. Back on Titan's Wrath, General Elias Carter stood on the command deck, watching the wreckage of the Vorkari fleet drift into the void. Victory should have tasted sweeter. But something felt wrong. Sir, incoming priority transmission from the Sol Defense Network, Vasquez reported. Patch it through. The screen flickered. A grim-faced Admiral Reeves appeared. Carter, we have a problem. Carter's stomach tightened. Go on. The Admiral's next words sent ice through his veins. The Vorkari aren't retreating. They're preparing for all-out war. The bridge fell into silence. Carter exhaled slowly. Then we finish this, once and for all. Humanity's last stand. The stars burned red as the largest fleet in human history assembled above Earth. Hundreds of warships, from sleek stealth corvettes to towering dreadnoughts, lined up in precise battle formations. Their weapons primed, shields raised, and crews ready. They had won the battle, but now came the war. On the bridge of Titan's Wrath, General Elias Carter stood motionless, staring at the latest intel reports. His jaw tightened as he read the numbers. Over 10,000 Vorkari warships were on the move. Their invasion fleet dwarfed anything seen before. They're bringing everything. Commander Vasquez nodded grimly. Scouts report multiple dreadnought-class carriers. Their entire empire is mobilizing. A heavy silence settled over the bridge. The Vorkari weren't just planning revenge. They wanted extinction. Carter exhaled. Then we stopped them here. Every human ship was now part of Project Aegis, a desperate, last-stand defense plan designed for one purpose: to ensure Earth survived, no matter the cost. The final line of defense. Admiral Reeves appeared on the holoscreen. His face was lined with exhaustion, but his eyes burned with defiance. Listen up, people. His voice was strong, commanding. The Vorkari think they can wipe us out. They think we're just another species to crush under their boot. But we are humanity. The command channels were dead silent. Every soldier, pilot, and officer listened. We don't break. We don't surrender. And today, we remind them why the galaxy fears us. The fleet erupted into cheers, a roar of defiance spreading across the entire system. Humanity had its back against the wall. But cornered wolves are the most dangerous. Carter turned to Vasquez. Send the order. A single transmission pulsed through the fleet. Operation Aegis is active. Prepare for war. The storm arrives. Hours later, the first signs of the Vorkari invasion appeared on long-range scanners. Thousands of enemy warships dropped out of hyperspace. Their blood-red hulls gleamed against the void, stretching across the stars like a plague. At the center of it all was the Emperor's personal dreadnought, a city-sized leviathan bristling with superweapons. Inside, Emperor Zaltor watched the human fleet on his own viewscreen. He smirked. Fools. He raised a single clawed hand. Erase them. The Vorkari fleet opened fire, unleashing a storm of plasma, missiles, and energy beams toward Earth's defenders. On Titan's Wrath, Carter gripped his seat as the first wave hit. Hold the line. The battle for Earth had begun, and there would be no second chances. The final hour. The void erupted into chaos. The Vorkari fleet unleashed an apocalyptic storm of plasma, missiles, and energy lances, turning space into a blinding inferno. Earth's defenders answered with everything they had. Railguns tore through enemy hulls, swarms of fighter jets weaved between dreadnoughts, and hidden defense satellites unleashed kinetic strikes that shattered entire squadrons. But for every Vorkari ship destroyed, 10 more took its place. On the bridge of Titan's Wrath, alarms screamed as the massive battleship shook under heavy fire. Shields at 30%. Vasquez shouted, "Redirect power from non-essential systems." Carter ordered, "We hold the line." A Vorkari cruiser powered up its main cannon, aiming directly at Titan's Wrath. But before it could fire, boom! A hidden human stealth corvette detonated its fusion core, ramming straight into the Vorkari cruiser's heart. The enemy warship exploded, breaking into 1,000 burning fragments. Carter clenched his fists. "We can't keep this up." Admiral Reeves appeared on the holoscreen, his face pale. "Carter, the orbital defenses won't last. If they break through, Earth is finished." Carter's heart pounded. The Vorkari weren't just attacking their fleet, they were pushing toward Earth itself. And if they landed, there would be no stopping them. A desperate gamble. "All ships, prepare for final counterattack." Carter's voice rang through every channel. "We're taking the fight to their flagship." A murmur spread through the fleet. Vasquez's eyes widened. "Sir, that's suicide." Carter's expression was grim. "Maybe. But if we take out the Emperor, we might end this war in one stroke." A beat of silence. Then Admiral Reeves nodded sharply. "Agreed. Humanity was never meant to die on its knees." Across the fleet, every remaining human warship adjusted course, engines roaring to life. Their target, the Emperor's dreadnought. The final blow. As Titan's Wrath led the charge, the Vorkari realized too late what was happening. The humans weren't retreating. They were charging straight at the heart of the invasion force. "Fools!" Emperor Exaltor bellowed. "Destroy them." His dreadnought's planet-killer cannon began charging, aimed directly at Earth. If it fired, everything would be over. Carter gritted his teeth. "All ships, target their main reactor. Hit them with everything." The void ignited. A blinding hailstorm of missiles, torpedoes, and kinetic shells slammed into the Emperor's flagship. The Vorkari shields collapsed. Carter saw his moment. "Bring us in close." Titan's Wrath pushed forward, dodging wreckage and enemy fire as it closed in on the dreadnought's exposed power core. Carter turned to his crew. "It's been an honor." He slammed the override controls. Titan's Wrath's engines roared to maximum. The massive human battleship rammed straight into the enemy reactor, unleashing a cataclysmic chain reaction. The Emperor's dreadnought exploded. A shockwave tore through the battlefield, consuming the Vorkari fleet. The invasion was over. Aftermath. A new era. Days later, the galaxy watched in stunned silence as the once mighty Vorkari Empire surrendered. The battle had changed everything. Humanity had not just survived, they had proven themselves as one of the most dangerous forces in the galaxy. Standing on the ruined bridge of a surviving warship, Vasquez looked up at the stars. "We won." For the first time in history, aliens would fear humanity, and Earth would never be threatened again.